All right, folks, we are live. Thank you so much. Hopefully, everything's working. My mic's working. My smile will be here in a minute. But hey, happy May. I am so excited. I have with me Michelle Ward. Met her several months ago, last year. Amazing person, great person. And I'll be honest, folks, when she started in, I thought maybe it's a little weird. And then it worked. And I was like, oh, that's great. So I can't wait. We're going to have an interactive live, kind of a coaching. We're going to have interactive with you guys in the comments and have a good time. We're going to try something new, but we want to make sure that you walk away with something useful, right? So today we're talking about breaking free, rewiring those inner stories that sabotage our success. Woo, you are looking at a case study and a half right here, folks. Oh my goodness. And Michelle really was. Michelle has helped
Yeah.
me really overcome a lot of this stuff, and I can't even explain how, to be honest. Uh, as long just like you all seen her with April Wyatt, same thing. Being around people that are guides, right, that know what you don't know is instrumental, right? So anyway, we're going to get to this in just a minute. And Michelle, how are you today since you're here?
I am doing great. I've had a great day, great week. Well, let's see. The weekend was a crazy weekend, and so now it's like I'm glad that it's kind of back to status quo. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, everybody's got that whole oh my gosh, it feels like Thursday and all that stuff. Yeah, me too. I actually took time off. I took time off with the family, and it was good. It was great. And April Wyatt's like Beetlejuice. When you say her name, she like three times, she just pops up. Did y'all see that? I said April Wyatt, and she's boom.
Hey friends.
Yeah,
Hey April.
we don't need a cell phone. We just yell out the window and she. So all right, let's give a shout out. Well, let's go run the intro. Give a shout out to some folks and dive right into this. April, we're going to be counting on you for the comments. This is your wheelhouse, my friend. So come in, have fun, and I can't wait. I'm so excited, Michelle. So let me
Me
be quiet.
too. This is gonna be fun.
Oh, super excited.
Let's see where.
Are you looking to grow your network and your net worth with other high-level, heart-centered professionals? Then grab a seat and your favorite beverage and join Mike Asherbranner, the Redneck Connector. It's time for the Hounds of Business Community Happy Hour.
Oh my goodness. All right. So let's do this real quick because I don't want to waste no time. I want folks to pop in and engage in this, whether you're watching this live or on a recording on YouTube or other channels. Thank you for tuning in. You're going to get something out of this because you can have the best sales scripts, business strategy, everything on earth, folks. And I'm talking from experience, not some textbook. And you will not reach the full potential. You'll struggle on things. And why? Because if we don't believe it, if we don't own it, how do we expect others to do it? And you will, even if you're like, well, I can close 3 out of 10. You could be closing maybe 5 or 6 if you truly had all of this and all the things that get in our way from childhood and these negative tapes. And I am absolutely the poster child of how not to do it, and I learned how to do it. So before we dive into this, let's give a shout out. Kevin Smith has to be one of the most nicest guys I have ever met. Very successful guy in finance, well known, well respected CEO. And one day he lost his wallet, and in my words, looked like he lost his mind. And so he tries to find the young lady who brought the wallet, and he went through this wild goose chase. Which, if you don't know the story, go to our YouTube, watch the short video. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. And it's the way of the hounds, right? Like, just good people just say, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to do extraordinary things." And so then he goes out and he's spreading kindness across the globe. No kidding. So he's got York, Pennsylvania. That was the very beginning. They decided to, make this a thing. And now the police are signing kindness citations out there. Uh, uh, he's at the UN. He just flew to Rome. So he's in Rome right now, right? Advocating for kindness to be spread worldwide, right? They got a new pope. I think he's meeting with him. This guy is everywhere. So Kevin, man, it's an honor and a privilege and a thrill to be able to, as the hounds, right, to be able to push this up with such good-hearted people, professionals. Man, oh my goodness. See how blessed we are, folks? The people we run with are absolutely amazing. So, Kevin, man, keep going. And we got a show. They've got a documentary coming up, a professional documentary. And we got a teaser on the Hounds of Business website or the YouTube. So I'll put that in there. You can go find that on my LinkedIn page if you're watching on LinkedIn, but go check that out. I think it's already at like 17,000 views or something. We just put it up, and this thing is rolling. So can't wait for the documentary, and we're going to be putting some new Kindness Worldwide shows. So folks, tap into this. This is a real movement. This ain't just some feel good. This is changing the way local governments are doing business. The Governors Association, world leaders are taking this seriously, folks. So it has been an absolute blessing to support that. Thank you, Kevin. And Dr. New, she's the one that brought Kevin into our orbit, right? So if I would have went to Kevin, I probably got pepper sprayed over Zoom, right? But I had Dr. New say, hey, you two really need to talk. Y'all got something here. And look what happens. So, hey, ask who instead of just what, and see what happens. And we can't leave this guy out. His book is dropping soon. Troy Carnes. Man, this guy is awesome. Not only is he busy and he's got a family and he's got his book coming out here soon, go to his website, troycarnes.com. But he's also doing and advocating for cancer. 98 days into his alcohol recovery, Michelle, and you can appreciate this. Yes. He gets a cancer diagnosis and they cut his shoulder out. I went through alcohol. I went through recovery, and I can't imagine having that bomb on me. And so, again, I like to learn from people who've been there and done that and still doing it. And that's Troy, folks. So Troy's out there. Go get the pre-launch of his book, the pre-orders. And now he's over here doing lots of cancer. They do cancer events in different places. And, man, I mean, tell you, thank you, Troy, for what you do. Get to know this man. He's full of value. And again, if you're stuck and you're struggling with things and you feel like, well, I'm too macho to talk about it, etc. Yeah, well, look who you're talking to. Go read his book. Do it in secret. You owe it to yourself. All right, you got an impact to make. Don't let this stuff get in your way. And I can't wait to shut up and let Michelle give us like how-tos on this. It's going to be incredible. And the last but certainly not least, our buddy Josh Tapp at Pantheon FM. Really good, super guy. Met him through Tanya Eberhard. He came on the show maybe 2 years ago, and our paths crossed. And so now the Pantheon is a great community. They have the gathering. It's every Tuesday at 12 o'clock to 2 p.m. Eastern time. So it's every Tuesday. You'll see hounds. You'll see new folks, people we don't know. It's an honor because these guys are high level. These folks are doing things at ultra high level. And they're heart-centered. They're good people. But they are getting stuff done, especially in this climate today, folks, where everybody's kind of freaking out, lead gen's drying up, and they're breaking records. That's all I got to say. All right, so join me, join the hounds, join the other great high-level folks at Pantheon Gathering. If you need the link, I'll put it on my LinkedIn. I'll also put it on the upload of YouTube, so you can just grab it in the comments, all right? So thank you, Josh. And, boy, ain't that something when you win? I just brought some great hounds in. They made an impact. Everybody took notice. I didn't have to say a word. And I like to talk all the time.
That's the best way to do it. Leading by example.
Yeah, just make impact. Bring value, generate curiosity, push other people up, and watch them rock. And if they don't do it to someone else. They will, right? So thank you, Josh, man. It's great people over there. Super excited. Go to Pantheon Gathering, folks. All right. So now that we shouted out all these amazing people, because this ain't just shout outs. This is people try to build a business, and you need real people that can convert, doing real business. That's what we're about. So, Michelle, we are all about you because you're going to co-host. You're pretty much going to run this.
All right.
You didn't know that.
No, so, I like it.
Yes, ma'am. So first of all, this is for all busy professionals and high value people, right? Busy, ambitious folks, entrepreneurs, corporate professionals, independents, high achievers. We're talking about breakthrough. All right. So you broke this down for me ahead of time. All right. Let's start with, are you ready to silence your inner saboteur?
Yeah. Well, we all have one, right? And most of us think it's just the way we are. And I like what Kevin's said that your life isn't broken. You don't need to fix it. It's kind of like we think there's something wrong with us, but you're not broken. None of us are broken. We're not malfunctioning. We're just programmed. And that starts in childhood. It actually starts in the third trimester in the womb. You're picking up what's going on in your environment, and it, goes on through age 7 or 8. And you don't even realize it because you're in this like theta brainwave state, and you're just absorbing things in your environment, and you're creating your beliefs based on what you're absorbing and what your perception is. So What I do is help identify those perceptions and those limiting beliefs, those subconscious beliefs, and reprogram them. So reprogram them. But it shows up in our life. We internalize messages that, well-meaning people say to us, that create these subconscious beliefs. And then these beliefs lead to self-sabotage, financial struggle, emotional conflict, and a disconnection from our inner life force. And that's what I call elan vital, that that innate vital force that we're born with, but we're programmed out of. So, that's kind of, what we're going to talk about tonight. And even the most accomplished people secretly hear that inner whisper that they're not enough, or they're not good enough, or I'm not deserving of success, even though they may be very successful people. So I came up with some common childhood phrases that my dad used to say to me, and I'm going to break it down just a little bit, and I'm wondering if anybody has ever experienced or heard these things. I'm sure you've heard a lot of them, like money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people are greedy. It's hard to make money. And this is the quintessential dad thing that he would always say to me when I'd ask a question like, why? I mean, children ask why all the time. Because I said so.
Oh, you just took me back. I just turned into 6 years old again. That's terrifying. I heard it all.
And the last one is curiosity killed the cat. And, and they're all like, I think I made the conscious decision whenever I had children that I would never say because I said so. But there were times where I'm like, I just because, kind of thing. Right. But trying to explain it to a child to where you're not giving too much information or making it too complicated. Sometimes it's easier just to say because I said so, So can anybody resonate with any of these comments? I mean, any of these phrases?
Yeah. If you're brave enough to share it, I am. So do as I say, not as I do.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, and it's interesting you brought this up, and I love to hear from the comments and the folks watching because, I know you've got the stories. I remember like the same thing you said. Like, I don't want to do that to my kids, but here's the problem: if we're programmed and that's still in our heads, and we're not facing it, healing through it, and working on it, it's going to come out. That's why our parents did it to us, because they didn't stop and question, hey, is this something I think is healthy? Is this something I really believe in? We don't even stop to ask the questions, right?
Right.
And is that the first step? It's like, hey, before you try all these self-help books, read a Brene Brown book, go to your system, go to your assessment. Am I wrong in saying, hey, the first thought you should have is, do I really like this or not? Like, does this fit me? I think of it this way. When I went to bed as a 6-year-old in PJs with footies on. And then I woke up as a 43-year-old man and those don't fit. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Like,
it totally makes sense. And and it's so many people really don't even have the self-awareness to question the beliefs, And so that's why it's so great for us to have these conversations. Because I heard a quote that, we're not a victim of our circumstances. We're really victims of our perception. And so, because people, will play the victim role. Well, I didn't get that job because so-and-so was, had more tenure or, had more experience, or I'm not old enough, or, I didn't. So they don't question, really, is that true? Is that really what happened? Or is there something showing up in your life that is keeping you from moving forward? So, kind of want to just go back to a few of these things that I wrote down, the phrases, little catchphrases. But money doesn't grow on trees. It puts this idea of scarcity into the subconscious, and that scarcity is normal, and that wealth is undeserved, abundance is unrealistic, and that you have to struggle to earn. And I mean, yes, you have to work and you have to show up, but it doesn't always have to be a struggle. So, but the way it can show up in adulthood, and let's see if this resonates with anybody, is does anybody undercharge or over deliver in business? I know I've been very guilty of that, and guilt is actually the wrong word to use, but I've been known to do that, or feel guilty about earning or spending money. Like, I really want that new car, but like, what would my clients think if I drove up in this type of car, in this really nice new car? Or the fear of investing in personal growth. So I actually had a client who was a life coach, and I have my mentors and my coaches. I think that I think everybody would benefit from a coach. Even Michael Jordan had coaches, and Tony Robbins has
multiple.
Yeah. So there's nothing wrong with getting help from somebody that might be one or two steps ahead of you. But so Karen, she was a life coach, and she really resisted charging what she was worth. And so we went kind of down the rabbit hole and looked at what trapped emotions there were and what stories were playing in her mind. And it was the money doesn't grow on trees. And so after we identified this and released the trapped emotions around it, her insecurity is basically what it was. And that was all tied to her father's belief about money. That wasn't her belief. She absorbed that, or she adopted that into her vernacular and into her subconscious belief system. But she shifted her mindset after identifying that, questioning, wait, is this actually true? Well, we know really, we do know, literally money doesn't grow on trees. I mean, I guess you make money from trees, but that's the point.
Technically, yeah.
But within like 6 weeks, she raised her rates and had her first $10,000 month. And it was all about changing her mindset.
Hold up. I don't even know. I think I told you this, but I'm going to share it. I did the same thing recently. And I'm like, wow, because again, trying to rationalize things that are irrational from childhood and things that we keep up with. And it was like, well, how could I do that? How could I do this? But when you stop and take a rational look, here's what I found. Tell me if I'm wrong and elaborate, Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
If I was to take all of my accomplishments, all the hard work, all the things that I've done, and you took my name off of that and you stuck April White on it, and I was to read that, I go, wow, April White, that's amazing. Good job, April. Holy cow, that should be a Hallmark movie, blah, blah, blah. But when you put my name on it, I'm like, oh, well, that can't be true. That's not okay. It's not going to last. Right? Anybody relate to this? And that's common. See, as far as I'm concerned, I thought that I was the only one that was a weirdo or felt this way or whatever you want to call it. And then I found out everybody else does too. They're just better hiding it than I am.
Yeah.
Or they healed through it. So what's
Right.
your experience with that? Like, is that true? Is that dead on? Or
Oh yeah, for sure. Because we can't see the greatness in ourselves, and there's this game of comparison that we play. And really, and this is going to sound like probably goofy and like whatever kind of woo woo, but until we learn to like love ourselves and really respect and appreciate the gifts that we have been blessed with and given, then you're not going to move forward, and you're always going to be comparing yourself to the other person. I mean, I was totally guilty of it. I mean, it's crazy how you get into those patterns, those self-deprecating conversations that you have with yourself. I mean, I used to tell my clients, like, they would tell me what their issues were or whatever, and the way they would talk to themselves. I'm like, if you had a friend, and we've all heard this, but if you had a friend who talked to you like that, would they be your friend? No. So you have to be a friend to yourself first and really embrace the journey, I
do know. In fact, it was wild because I just got off the phone with a high level lady. I mean, I didn't know her that well, but I seen her. I was like, wow, this woman's very comfortable. She created something special. She makes a lot of money, seems to be good. And then when you talk, you're like, it's the same thing. In fact, it was the stuff that I just went through. Like, I'm like 2 steps ahead of this process. I'm like, oh no. And I got all excited, like, hey, let me give you, like the ghost of Christmas future. And I'm like, well, hey, check this out. Be ready for this and that. But again, it's something like I had people, well, you and April and other people that at first we need external validation. Sometimes that could be the catalyst to go, you know what, maybe I'm wrong. If these people that I respect think of me this way, maybe I'm thinking of myself in a way that's not matching reality. And that's basically what I told her. I said, I said, what's probably happening is you're not seeing you as we see you.
Mm-hmm.
Like me, like do I have to sell anything? No, we created it. We point to it. And our whole thing is to help educate people and let them make up their own daggone minds. So I had to own that because no one else does that. Everybody's like sales pitch this and do that. And I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying I created my own way. But
Mm-hmm.
it's when you don't know and have the confidence or whatever it takes, that's a hard place to be in. Like, you know, but it's worth it. That's why you exist, because you're helping people get to that point. You're a person. Just like if you program the computer with a bunch of nonsense, it's
Mm-hmm.
going to kick out nonsense. We're programmed and we reprogram ourselves when we reach out to people like you, right? Alain Vital, and we're getting there. And that's what I mean. I love this. So I'll stop rambling, but I just want to make sure because I'm like, wow, dude, this is
Yeah.
happening.
Well, so last week or 2 weeks ago, we were cleaning up our yard, and there were leaves and weeds and all that stuff growing, but there was also like the stuff that comes back every year that looks really nice. But we had to clean out the leaves and the weeds that were growing for the other stuff to shine, right? And so that is the set, and to look beautiful, and it looks great. And after like 7 Home Depot bags, full of leaves and sticks and things that didn't belong, our yard looks beautiful. I'm super proud of it. But it's the same principle that you gotta pick the weeds and pull them out at the root in order to see the beauty that can grow around you. And a weed will grow just as much as a flower will. So you choose, am I nurturing my weeds, or am I nurturing the flowers? So it is actually a choice. But a lot of, like you were saying, I mean, it is nice to have validation from other people, to kind of maybe get you set into gear. But it's also important to self-validate, and self-reflect and figure out where these subconscious beliefs are coming from.
Yeah, no, and that's what happened. The validation from the right people prompted it, but you don't want to stay there. You don't want people, your
Mm-hmm.
self-worth being tied to praise and booze, right? That's a bad place to
Right.
be. But I think you touched on something real big. When you bury your head in the sand, like when I saw weeds, the weeds of self-doubt, the weeds
Mm-hmm.
of, all of this, and you can't do it, you're not enough, I bury my head in the sand.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's usually maladaptive behaviors. That's when people drink and they do stuff. And so when you pull your head out, you got more weeds. It never goes away. It just gets worse.
Yeah.
So, that's what you and April and some other folks have helped me really understand is like, hey, and I want you out listening. If you're out there and you're struggling alone on this, call it what it is. Call a spade a spade. Call a weed a weed. Say that is a weed. That doesn't belong here. Like I remember for the longest time, I don't know if they told me this or if I interpreted this as 6 years old, but money is the root of all evil.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day I was reading the actual Bible and I said, wait a minute, somebody had to pay for all these poor disciples running around without a job.
Yeah.
And it was Lazarus. I'm like, well, think about it. Because Jesus loved Lazarus, not to get
Mm-hmm.
biblical, but if you just look at the story and, it's like, well, somebody had to pay for this. And then I realized it's the love of money that's the root of
Yes.
evil. Lazarus didn't love it. He used it as a resource to do what he wanted to do with that and help out the disciples. So that's the thing. It's like, wow, because good people with money do good things, and not so good people with money will do not so good things. It's a tool.
Right.
But boy, I carried that for 40 years. It's
Mm-hmm.
unbelievable what kind of shipwreck it will take if you don't pull the weeds out.
Right. Well, and there's a lot on the internet. There's a ton of coaches that coach you on how to manifest. Well, if you think about it, we're manifesting 100% of the time, all day, every day. Now, what are you manifesting? Are you manifesting abundance? And I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about abundance in your life. I mean, do you have great friendships? Do you have confidants? Do you have, a purpose or, a direction that you're going into, that's abundance. And it's all just energy. And that's, like the emotions, the trapped emotions, that's energy too. And releasing that energy, that negative energy, or dissolving it rather, or diffusing it, makes way for all the positive abundance to come into your life. But, you can sit there and say all these mantras to yourself, or you can look at, I think it's Stuart Smalley on Saturday Night Live, what would he would look in the mirror and like say, affirm himself, like, I am smart, I am, whatever. Well, if you don't actually believe that at a subconscious level, that's going to do nothing,
Oh, I do know. And I know from painstaking every day doing that. But again, celebrate the wins. Look at the reality of it. That was one of the things, like, hey, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to not have it all figured out. It's okay, to make mistakes. I mean, that's when you hear people say it, you're like, oh, whatever. But no, it's true. But that, you have to work on you. You have to work on the stuff. I mean, and that's why I like you so much. You've been so transparent. You'll just sit there and dump out stuff that people will hide till their death. And you're just like, this is happening in my life, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that takes a lot of healing and self-awareness. And what's the word for it?
Transparency. And, but it also takes a lot of courage. I mean, a lot of people are not going, but if you really want to help people, then, then you've got to be willing to be vulnerable, And I love what April said here, that she sees things as opportunities and she's curious. And so, again, back to because I said so, or curiosity killed the cat, that can shut you down as a child to be afraid to question authority, or be afraid to ask questions, or, to voice your opinion. And so, that, I guess we could probably, I think we're about, we're stuck on one thing, but let's move on to the, like the hidden architecture of self-sabotage. You want to?
Oh yeah, because now that we understood, we have to identify it. We're not weirdos, and hey, okay, now what? Like, what is our brains doing? This is scientific. It's not woo-woo. It's not weird. This is science. The brain is doing what it does. We're human beings, right? We're biological. And real quick, April Wyatt, I have the most curious cat on planet Earth. And now I've renamed the cat April Wyatt, because April really is one of the most curious people. So I would love to know, you don't have to tell us on live, but I'd love to know if you heard that, because you leaned into it. And that's good. That's why she's always doing things and making partnerships. And, like, that's why people love her, because she's just curious. She wants to know and explore. And so maybe my mom got that wrong. I don't know. April seems to be doing well with that curiosity stuff. So let's go in. It is deep, Homer, and because nobody wants to talk about it. And that's why
being genuine too. April is very genuine. It's not like, she's not playing some role, because I know April very well and personally, like you do. She's not playing some role to get to, there's not an end game. She generally does care. So I think that's super important too. But
1,000. Yeah. And that comes because she heals herself. She helps others, just like you. You went through a whole lot of stuff. And when you hit the bodybuilding bikini contest, I was like, okay, it's like David Mendeski, right? Hey, his doctor's going to fire him because he's too fat. He's not listening. So he goes out, researches, climbs Mount Kilimanjaro at 67. See, that's my kind of people. That's, like, that's you. Like, I was like, wow, you went through all this crap. And it's no easy joke to do a bodybuilding contest. I mean, and then you did it. And I'm like, see.
Yeah. And, along that same vein and to that point is it wasn't easy for me personally, but it also wasn't easy for the people around me. Like, I had 2 daughters and they're like, why is she doing this? My mom was like, no, what are you doing? And my husband was like, can you go to dinner tonight? I'm like, no, you can I'll go with you, but I'm just not going to eat, kind of thing. There were so many, it really was disruptive and in a positive way for me, and I had people that were supporting me. But the point being is that I'd always been the person to serve other people and put my needs on the back burner and not do something for myself. So that was a way for me to like really kind of break out and like, I'm doing this thing. I know it's going to affect all of you. I appreciate your support, but just, it's happening, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'll be quiet. You got me through it
Yeah.
because I'll chime in. We
Okay.
just kind of touched on this, but so when it comes to the hidden architecture of self-sabotage, what is it?
Yeah. Well, so, you know, the brain doesn't create stories to hurt you. It actually it's building a protective mechanism based on perceived threats from childhood and otherwise. And so, but, you know, once you, it wants to keep you safe. It's a binary machine. It's like it does what it's told or how it's programmed. It's like, you know, it's the hardware, and then the software is what we programmed it with, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just going to do what we tell it to do. So so like there's surface level fears that you may be aware of or may not be aware of, but you know, what if I fail? Or but there's also deeper identity blocks that are whispering, like that still small voice that you can barely hear. Who do you think you are? Like taking on this project or doing this thing, or you know, getting your master's or your PhD, or doing a bikini competition. You've never done anything like that. So the brain wants to keep you. The subconscious wants to keep you cautious. And then the other, you know, and it also wants to keep you small. But it's not trying to do that. It's just trying to keep you safe. It's just a safety mechanism. So, you know, we've all got willpower to a certain degree, but willpower actually runs out. And so, and then willpower will work against you if the subconscious programming is not identified, addressed, and dealt with. So, you're just going to be white knuckling your way through whatever it is you're doing. If and it's not sustainable if you don't address the subconscious beliefs or the trapped emotions that are behind your decision making or what's going on, you know? So,
yeah.
Yeah.
No, keep going.
No, I'm just curious from the audience, like what money beliefs were you told growing up? I mean, like, what did you grow up with? And like list a few common ones, you know, in the comments, and then let's kind of talk it out. Let's see what that kind of leads to. So does anybody have anything?
Yeah, while they're typing it, I'll if you want me to, I'll share you.
Yeah, you go.
So I grew up very, very poor and not the best. And so when other kids were wanting this and that and buy stuff, I was like, do we have peas? Yeah, you know, like I'm growing, I'm 6, but I'm acting like I'm, you know, grown because survival, right? Like if we buy this, I might not be able to eat. And that's a horrible thing. So you talk about some damage following you through childhood.
Yeah.
But again, in at first I was real frugal, and then all of a sudden I went nuts and just started, you know, like overspending everything. And it was an autopilot thing. And we did, you know, I didn't have the internet. I didn't have it back then. So there was nobody talking about it. You can read a self-help book, but who does that, right? This was like the 90s, right? So 2000s. And so anyway, that's it. Only until recently has that really been, you know, something I said, hey, is that, and I'll tell you what it was that prompted me to really take a look at it was my kids. Because I've realized you can't teach what you don't know.
Right.
And do I really want to pass on this generational baggage and all that stuff? We're going to mess our kids up. I just want to do it the least amount of damage, right?
Yeah. So, I'm just going to mess them up a little bit.
Right. But I don't want to pass on stuff that as a grown man doing things that doesn't serve me. So like, and I'll stop here, but it's the same thing when you go from like the working class mindset. I grew up with very great people in working class. There's nothing wrong. But that's not the same mindset that folks who own businesses and, you know, accelerate, retire in 10 years of work, right? So that right there, you know, was a big problem. But as I put myself out there, as I started doing what I'm doing, building the community, building a business, guess what? Other their programming rubbed off on me. So I had a conflict. I had this poverty stuff I grew up with in defense, and my brain was all in you know, protection mode. But then I'm around people looking at me funny because I'm not charging with extra zeros behind the number, right? And that kind of stuff is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Like programming it. They don't think that way. That's why they have more. So it doesn't mean he's better than me. It means that if I want more, I have to work on getting rid of the stuff and healing and dealing with it so I can be in a position to receive more.
Well, and it also matters who you're surrounding yourself with. If you're hanging around people with that same mindset, that same scarcity and poverty mindset, it's just going to feed the beast. It's just going to feed those subconscious beliefs even more. And there's actually research that backs it up, is that you become like the 5 people that you hang around with the most, whether they're overweight, gamblers, smokers, drinkers, whatever. And so it's super important to surround yourself with like-minded people that can help you identify those subconscious beliefs, as well.
That was huge for me, because anytime you try to do something different, like you just said, even with supportive people like your family, it still causes a ripple effect, right? They're like, what's going on with mom, blah, blah, blah. And you're doing it anyway. So imagine that you're around a bunch of people who aren't ready to go next level, who don't want to hear that, or maybe they wasn't even good fit to begin with, and you just not realize it. That stuff happens a lot. And woo, boy, because you go out like, I'm going to go fly, then you just fall off the tree branch, right? And so, but again, I truly believe this, and this is something I had to establish for myself. We were made to do amazing things. We were made to go figure things out and make an impact, right? So for us not to do it, that's the weird thing. It's like, well, I'm not weird. Well, you're weird because you think you could be somebody. No, it's actually weird that I spent 40 years thinking I wasn't.
Exactly.
Who knew? You did.
Well, and you're lucky that you figured it out at 40. I mean, there's people that are, 60 and 70. And actually, I was talking to somebody about this the other day about just people being, you hear about how you get older, you're just set in your ways. Well, you can change any time. Like David Madansky is a perfect example. I mean, he climbed Kilimanjaro at age 67. I mean, most people think that, I'm just going to sit on the couch and enjoy my retirement, or, go play golf at age 67 and eat what I want, drink what I want, and do whatever. But it's also that mindset of, I want to do better. I want to be better. And this status quo thing isn't working for me anymore, no matter what age it is. But being set in your ways, that can happen at age 30. It can happen at age 80, but it's never too late to change, as long as you're still breathing, Yeah.
Well, and that's living, right? It's like, well, because correct me if I'm wrong, because this is your wheelhouse. But what I have found through painstaking experience is, that's true living. It's like, because I wanted comfort. I wanted to avoid pain. I wanted to be safe in it. But that's not what I really wanted. What I really wanted was to be somebody, do something special, leave a legacy, make an impact. So you can't have both. You can't be like comfort zone and never change and then go be something amazing. You got to trade, and you just got to say, look, because I wouldn't trade it for nothing. It's been the most horrible experience in some regards, but it's been the best experience because, my gosh, I mean, I look back and go, who are you? Like that 20 years ago, you would never imagine you being here. Never. It was a pipe dream. It was a hallucination, right? A dream without execution is a hallucination. And that's what I was. And now it's like, I went from, oh my God, not me, to, oh, hell yeah, me. Like, let's do this. Like, and that's not overnight, but it didn't take forever. I was able to do it without guidance. I wish I'd known you before when I started. It could have been a lot faster. But I did. It took maybe, I would say, about 16 months. And there's not just light at the end of the tunnel. There's light in the tunnel.
Absolutely. There's that guiding light, it's, it may be a small light, but it is guiding your way. And, yes, we learn from our mistakes. And I would tell my kids when they're, failed a test, well, they never failed a test, but, I'm kidding. But, if they didn't make the team or something like that, it's like, this will have more impact for you if you allow it in a positive way than actually making the team every time you try out, or, getting straight A's without a problem. Like, what I'm saying? So, that's a matter of perspective as well. And like you said, I mean, my gosh, the stuff that I've put myself through, literally, I put myself through, not without unwittingly. I mean, I didn't realize I was doing it. And the stories I created in my mind about who I was and what I was capable of, and, who that person is and how they did this to me and did that to me. I wouldn't change that for the world either. Now, I also wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, but because we went through our stuff, we're able to speak to it and help other people. And you're right. I mean, we were born to create. We were born to love and to serve, and that's what this is all about.
Well, let's move in if you don't mind, because
Mm-hmm.
you just segued into that. You talked about professional's paradox.
Yeah.
And here's something before you get into it, and you can use this later. What I found was when I had the courage or desperation that led to courage, right, to just redo everything. I mean, just really come out and say, I'm sick and tired of life and I'm going to change it, and didn't know how. I quickly attracted those people that I needed as guides, positive influence.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, I felt like a monkey. You know how a monkey's got one branch and it
Mm-hmm.
swings, but it
Yeah.
don't want. Yeah, there's a point that you're in the midair. You're suspended.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, love that.
And so, but what I found was not only did the right people come out of the woodwork, but also people who had been through the same thing. So folks
Mm-hmm.
who, they had experienced betrayals or whatever in their life, they gravitate towards you because they can sense it. They can tell, hey, this is somebody who's like me. And it's the
Yeah.
strangest thing. And we'll just meet, talk, and be like, oh, wow. Like I met a lady who built $1 million business with childhood friends. Everybody was buddies. She started succeeding and they took it from her.
Hmm.
Oh my God. Right. So then I come along and it's like, I don't trust anyone.
Yeah.
But then as I started talking and we started getting like a little deeper, we found out, hey, we similarities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we bonded. So really the reason that I got this position and we worked so well together wasn't because of all the, is it aligned and do you have the skill set? It was because, hey, we both overcome those trust issues. And
Yeah.
we're not likely to do that to each other because it happened to us, and so these kind of things, I really saw lots of amazing value from the inner growth that I never would a million years
Mm-hmm.
would have guessed. But you see this daily. You see
Oh,
this, right?
all the time. Yeah. Well, and this is for another conversation, but we can put a pin in it and talk about it later.
Sure.
Is that trusting that gut instinct, that gets quashed because, the world, we grow up and the world tells us who we're going to be, how we're going to be, what we're going to be, how to act, what to believe. And we lose that connection with our, our vital force, our elan vital. And so we got to rediscover that. But so we were going to talk about just professionals in general, and the paradox with that is that we see high achievers all the time, but and a lot of them will build success despite their inner blocks, and it's not because they've healed them, though. It's because it's just they're grinding and daily and themselves into the ground. And then, the more successful some people are, the more they fear losing it. And so they're in crawls this perfectionism and overworking and this imposter syndrome, which I struggled with for a really long time. And so and those are coping mechanisms to avoid being found out. Right. But what they do is they build invisible ceilings, that glass ceiling. And so intelligence and education don't protect you from self-sabotage, period. In fact, they often create more sophisticated stories to justify staying safe. So, So what do you think about that? Has anybody ever felt like that?
I'll go first. Yeah, absolutely. That's that I see this on a daily basis. So people, if my business is failing and people know it, then they're not going to want to do business with me. Right. That's kind of, and it's like, well, maybe, who said you had to go out there and just air it out? But also what we didn't look at is when, after you overcome that obstacle, right, you made the business work, you blew it up in tough times. That's a story, right? Like that's me. It's like, well, I'm going to find a way. I might not talk about it so much, but then after the fact, or while I'm dealing with it, I can talk about it. Like to me, it's not worth hiding. Like, hey, I have this challenge and watch me overcome it. It's kind of like when we did David's program, right? We did the program and then we reported on it.
Right.
It was like, hey, I'm struggling with this. I had to redo the program. It's not that I failed the program. It's just I didn't do it to the level I wanted to do it. And it forced me, David's program forced me to go back and do other stuff so I can do the program.
Right.
So, it's not like, well, you failed. April and Bill and everybody knocked it out, and here I am, still at the damn start gate. But I'm okay with that, because
Yeah.
that's my story. I had other things. Like, now I'm cutting off stuff that wastes my time. I'm being streamlined, and I see my family now. Holy cow. So I got way more than just a health guide.
Mm-hmm.
That forced me to go back and fix other things that are keeping me from it. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Oh, it totally makes sense. Completely makes sense. One of the things that you can ask yourself, and I have this pinned on my board. It's been on here for, I don't know, 10 years, but how would you behave if you're the best in the world at what you do? And so back to, creating these stories in our mind, like you can create stories about what if this happens and what if this happens, but you can also reframe that, like, what if this fails? Well, what if it's so successful that, I'm able to hire 50 people and give jobs to people that don't have jobs right now? Or so if you reframe it, because both of them are just a story. So let's go with the better story, let's go with and then you start, and what that does is it creates an environment where you're doing the things that person who is creating jobs and like exploding a business would do naturally.
All right, if you don't mind, since you're giving this this kind of live coaching session here,
Yeah.
what is, so this happened to me, like, how do I phrase this? So kind of like I was talking about before, like, kind of like, hey, if I raise my rates and I go at this in a different fashion, what if it fails? What if it, backfires? What if people don't like it? What if? And then I figured it out. Kind of like Marcus Aurelius said, what stands in the way becomes the way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, what if it actually worked? And I love what you just said, because I've noticed that recently in my business, where I'm like, it feels selfish for me to focus on me, right? So put me first, my business, the hounds, growing the business, getting new clients. But then I realized, the more I get, the more time, money, and freedom I can achieve,
Mm-hmm.
the more I have time and money to go out there and help people that don't have it. Like, it's like,
Exactly.
and I'm like, so what? So here's my question.
Mm-hmm.
Is it common for professionals, right? Even successful ones or whatever, but is it common for them to kind of be on that spectrum of, hey, I feel selfish, but I'm gonna do it anyway, right? Or, to challenge yourself and say, look, even though I feel selfish, like, I feel like, oh, I'll be honest, when I say, when I talk to people now, it feels very cocky. That's my word.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized that I'm so far away from that spectrum. Like, what feels cocky is actually middle ground. Like, I'm a well balanced now. Like, I can
Mm-hmm.
I can do hard things, but I can enjoy people. I'm not attached. So is that one of the things that, because I see it a lot, but I'm not a pro. Do people have trouble catching up with reality sometimes?
Yeah, and you said a great thing. I don't think you even realize that maybe you should be a self-sabotage coach. But is it too many people are attached to an outcome, a certain outcome, right?
Yes.
And so that may not be the natural path for whatever it is that you're doing. So if you stay detached from this outcome that you have in your mind, then, I mean, I know that this is not like a Bible class, but I do think that, one of the greatest verses that I love in the Bible is that God will give you exceedingly abundantly above all you can ask or imagine, because our creativity and our imagination is very limited, but God's is limitless, So when you tap into that inner knowing, and just, April will tell you, meditate and breathe, it really does help you tap into that creative person inside of you. So yeah, I mean, it's the stories that you're telling yourself over and over again, and it's, again, being attached to a certain outcome that may not be what's best for you.
Oh, see, now listen, folks, this is real. I just had to break. I just realized something because of this. And I know so much about self-sabotage because I've been talking to you for long enough. So that's where it is. But, I I don't think I shared this with many people, but I want them to understand that this ain't woo woo. This is what's holding you back, or could be. So I got pulled in one day. It wasn't too long ago. I was pulled into this like really like successful this company, and it's kind of like a Gary V, just not as
Mm-hmm.
publicly known, but it was very high level. And I was pulled in as the partner, like partner meetings, right? And I was like, oh, it's my lucky break, woohoo! And then I got sucked into the regular funnel, and at that point, what I saw was the most amazing, most confusing. Like I was just like, wow, am I on a different planet? What is this? And then I realized, and this is the April Wyatt style here, this curiosity and exploration. I wasn't meant for that. This was not for me to go and do business with these people.
Mm-hmm.
This was meant for me to go, you know what? I can do this. Like it was a lesson. In other words, like you said, let go of outcomes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you know what? If this is what happens in the world, I can do what I want to do. In other words, I used it as fuel. Of course, I was wanting to get the big deals and all this stuff, but in hindsight, it wasn't a good fit. We were not aligned. That lesson was for me to go from, well, maybe I can, to, oh, absolutely, I'm going to, right? And
Yeah.
that's why I like April. April's always like, well, let me check this thing. Let me go check that thing. So if you approach this as a scientist, hey, I hope it works, but if it doesn't, I'm going to learn something from it, come
Mm-hmm.
back, realign, readjust, shoot again.
Right. Well, I think of the story of the twin boys, and I might have talked about this before. And one was like a total pessimist. I mean, like, they're young kids, or identical twins. One was just very pessimistic, and the other one was super positive. And the psychiatrist put one in one room and one in the other to observe the behavior. And then they put like in one, and with the negative boy, they put in like this state-of-the-art new like cool truck that had all these really cool things, and and he was like, I don't like the color, and this thing doesn't work right, and it's gonna break. And then in his brother's room, they put a pile of manure, and so he goes in and he has this pile of manure in, and he's like, oh my gosh, there's manure in here, there must be a horse somewhere. So it's and so it is how you approach it. And I think about like how many of us have an ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend that we thought we were going to marry, and we didn't, but then we ended up with like the love of our life, or this amazing relationship. So when you are attached to a certain outcome, then and then you force that, then there are consequences a lot of times.
And then you realize, or I've realized, and somebody will chime in, Omar, good to see you, big dog. Then you realize, like, I'm glad some things I'm like, oh, that sucked. How could that not happen? How could we not work together? Blah, blah, blah. How could they disappear or leave or move out of my orbit? And then you go, that might have been a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
Like if that, because I've had, some things or business deals, and I look back and go, man, if I would have kept that for 9 months, that'd have been a bad deal. Like, so don't just judge it and say, oh, well, that didn't work, I suck. No. Maybe there's bigger forces at play. Maybe God and the universe are teaching you some stuff and you're not listening.
I think there are no coincidences. I think there's always a reason for everything that happens, period, end of discussion. And so if you can have the emotional intelligence and the emotional fortitude and the flexibility to think that way and be like, again, it goes back to April's comment a while ago about the curiosity. Be curious and look at it from a bird's eye view. This happened for a reason. What did I learn from this? And how can I use this experience to help others, help myself, grow personally, financially, whatever. So.
Wow. So there was like 2 more topics I wanted to get to. But honestly, as doing this, I think if you think it's a good idea, let's plan again and have some people up here and do a panel. Like, so we can, because this was so much fun, but everybody's got to hear me ramble. I think now we get to hear other people and we'll mix them in. And the purpose of that is A, to learn, B, to inspire other people. Because I'm telling you, I am 1,000,000% convinced in my own experience and all the hundreds of people out there that I see and work with, you don't have as much of a business problem as you do an inner problem. I'm telling you, or an inner challenge or something that you're avoiding. Instead of going inside and doing all that nasty work, we want to go get a magic bullet or read a book or do some surface level stuff. And I'm telling you, it's, I even had a dear friend of mine the other day that just shocked me, and they just opened up, and they've been kind of on me about it. They're like, what is wrong with you? Like, like I'm Gandhi or something. Like I'm always trying to figure out the lesson. And then one day they just said, you know what? Maybe that's my problem. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like they went from, why are you always talking like this to, you're onto something. In other words,
Yeah.
they were inspired by me to do the hard work. Maybe it was my mom that did that. Maybe that's why I'm doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm over here like, how do I not screw this up? Like, like they're finally taking that self-awareness. Cause I just told them, I said, look, it doesn't mean you're bad, but the thoughts and the things that are happening are triggering you. And we got to address that, because that's not okay. That's not you. That's somebody in your head, that you've carried along. And to see that happen. And I tell you what, folks, there's nothing better, and you can back me up because this is your job, right? This is your career, than to be the catalyst to see and help someone, knock all that decades of baggage. It's like we're running an Olympic race, but you got a 800-pound backpack on.
Yeah.
Take that shit off, go out there, and that's what you do. So before we close out, and we're going to have to schedule another one. I love this talk. So what is the first step in general that somebody can take now? And then the second step with you, do you have an assessment? Do you have a webinar? What is something that people can get to know you? And even those who don't want to be called out, like you got other things that can be done in confidence. So tell people where to go and what baby step they can take, Michelle.
Yeah. So I do have on my website, at alon-vital-coaching.com, self-sabotage quiz. And I offer a discovery call, just to kind of, figure out where it is you're coming from, what your struggles are, what your issues are, where you want to improve. I'm a big believer that, in bio-individuality, that there's no cookie cutter approach to anything, with my clients. Everybody's different. Everybody's programmed in different ways. So I think the best thing right now, is just to schedule a call and let's just chat for 15 to 30 minutes. Yeah. So
that's what I did.
Yeah.
And in fact, you and Claudia, or you all did something, it was her webinar or something like that. And then I love this. See, this is, again, shameless plug. Don't do this alone. Don't do any of it alone. Don't do the inner work alone. Don't do the business alone. Don't go run around and just making stuff up. Plug into a community. If it's not ours, hey, go find one. I'll find you one. If I got plenty of them. We're working with them. But seriously, that's the point of this. That, I needed business help and all this stuff, but nothing would have helped me today more than the belonging, the support, and the guidance of folks like you, Michelle, and April, and all kind of good folks in there. And that's the key. I didn't need another damn self-help course or some speech course at that time. I needed someone to say, you're okay, deal with some things, and then go take the course if that's what you want to do. And I think that's what's happening. People are going, well, I'm an introvert. I'm shy, whatever. So now I'm going to go take this speaking course. No, don't try to be an extrovert. Go work on you and just be the best daggum introvert, right? Like, you don't have to be a loud and like me. You could be very powerful as you. And that's why I love it. You and Claudia, y'all don't say a lot, but when you do, it's meaningful. So the point is plug in, man. Hounds of Business. You can find us on YouTube, LinkedIn. Go to Elan Vital. See, I got it. Elan Vital. And it's elanvital-coaching.com. Is that right?
Yes.
elanvital-coaching.com. Or you can go find Michelle Ward, WARD. You can go find her on LinkedIn. Or send a carrier pigeon. All right, she takes those two. So
yes.
Any last parting words? Because I want people to take that step, have the courage for confidence, and get over it. Because as soon as you take that first step, you realize, man, it was scarier than you thought it would be. It's actually in reality not that bad. So if you need somebody you can trust, somebody who's going to guide you and be honest with you, and you're looking at her. Right. So Michelle, thank you so much. And anything you want to leave the audience with, any parting words or?
Yeah. And kind of along that same vein that you were just saying, is like, you can't see the picture when you're standing in the frame, and so sometimes it takes somebody to have the bird's eye view, or to step out, look at the big picture and say, I can see, I can identify this and this and this. How true is that for you? And then people are like, oh, yeah, that is true.
Yep.
I mean, I was actually talking to a client yesterday who wouldn't tell her husband about something that she was really struggling with because he was going through some things. She's like, I don't want to burden him with that. I'm like, well, that by not telling him, it creates distance, and it creates, it just creates an energetic distance between the two of you. And what it came from is that whenever she was young, when she was like 8 years old, her dad ran off, and she kind of was thrust into this position of having to be the protector of the mom and like not tell the mom like certain things were going on in their lives, because it would upset her mom. And without going into details, I mean, it was like mom dropping her off at school at, an hour before the school opened. Well, mom didn't know that because she was trying to get to her job or whatever.
Oh, wow.
And so, you know what I'm saying? And so and she was like, oh, I never even thought about that. Like that is, and so it's out of love and out of, I'm just the programming. So
yeah.
Anyway.
No. And the difference is because I did therapy and all that, and that's the head knowledge. What I found the most effective is someone who can take it from here to here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like internalize it. Like we all know not to overspend, overeat, blah, 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 blah. We can all talk about our feelings in childhood, but there's a difference in taking a step, having a guide, and doing the work. That's what I never really learned personally in therapy. And, that's what you do. That's what you help people. You help guide them with these questions so they can do the work. And also the certainty to realize they're not full of crap, right? Because, hey, I'm being guided. I'm coming to conclusions and I'm doing the work. I'm seeing it. I'm feeling it. I'm testing it, whatever. Like for me, it was just being more courageous. Hey, if I do this, I might look like a donkey. But if I don't do this, then 5 more people might not get the help they need. And,
exactly.
So those kind of things that you guys, and you especially, help me with is to say, hey, you're right. You're not wrong here looking at it this way, but there's another side to the coin. There's another viewpoint. Oh, hey, you're right. Like, yeah, that's okay too, but this makes sense. So I want folks out there to be empowered. Go talk to Michelle, go get to know her, and don't do this alone. Plug into, this is the kind of caliber of folks we have in the Hounds of Business. All right. So if you're out there floating around trying to figure it out, lead gen sucks, you're buying the wrong stuff, come here, get plugged into people that can help you. Because if Michelle's not the best fit, she's going to tell you that, folks. And she's going to send you to someone who is, the right fit, who is vetted, who is credible. And that's our way, folks. So thank you so much. I could talk to you forever. I want to go around too, but we'll have to reschedule and probably bring April and some other new folks up and have a great chat, because this is key. This is, once you get this right, man, now I turn poop into some fertilizer, man. Like you told that story. That's it. It's like, well, that didn't work. How can I take that and make that to my advantage?
Exactly.
So now everything that made me cry and drink and all that stuff in the past, now it supercharges me, it ignites me. And that's the difference between having a guy like Michelle and burying your head in the sand, folks. So we'll see you next time. Michelle, thank you so much. You're doing an amazing thing. April, thank you for all the comments, all the support. And yeah, she's fantastic. And thank you all for showing up. I know it's busy. Everybody's got spring break and school's ending, So thank you for coming. And next week, we're going to make a special show as well. So thank you so much. Y'all have a good one. All right. See you in the pack too.
Bye.
Yeah. Princess Wave.
Goodbye.
Thank y'all for stopping by. Be sure to follow, share, and like, and send me a message if you had fun today. Y'all come back now.